Right, sorry for breaking the philosophy of the evening, and if I do get invited back, I promise to adhere to strict rules and guidelines. I'm a science teacher, I'm not an expert in the field, but what I lack in knowledge, I certainly make up for in enthusiasm. Sex lives of animals. Why do we have sex? Well, the obvious answer is it feels nice. If you were a 16-year-old, some fucking prick would go, it feels really good, so I can go, okay, fuck off. But, so I always try and head them off at the pass and actually preempt it by saying it myself. Why do we have sex? Well, let's pick an example, because sometimes that's best to work from. The Red Queen hypothesis. Here we have a pond, and we have ducks, and we have a parasite that lives in has a life cycle, lives in the duck, and lives in snails, okay? And this parasite is quite damaging to the snails. The snails don't get to reproduce. And the snails are very clever, because what they're able to do is either reproduce sexually, cool, or asexually. Now, asexual reproduction is fucking brilliant, because you can do it quickly, you don't have to go out and find a friend and give them a special hug or anything like that. You just get on and do it. It's much more, it's an optimisation for breeding. You can breed much faster and quicker. But snails, they can do both. So what they've done is here in the shallows, the snails are being damaged by this parasite, because the parasite basically is only in the shallows. So here what we have is snails reproducing sexually. Deeper in, there's no parasite influence, so they reproduce asexually. Okay? Why do they reproduce sexually? It increases variation. Why do we need more variation? Well, by having variation within a population, some individuals will be inherently able to survive and attack from a parasite or from a disease. If we're all the same, if we're all actually clones and a disease come along, we'll all be wiped out or we'll all survive. And that's not what we want. We want genetically diverse offspring. As a side thing, Cambrian explosion that happened something about 543 million years ago. That occurred where basically all the complex life that we see today, all the multicellular organisms, basically evolved at that time. And coincidentally, it happened at the same time that sex evolved as well. So that perhaps there's a causal link where we had sex evolving and then huge amount of variation and evolution exploded. So it's quite interesting from that perspective. These are subs, right? There's a little picture of them down there. They have a really complex life cycle. So what they are able to do again is switch between asexual and sexual reproduction. And they live in long chains, swimming along. And they have something called sequential hermaphrodites, where basically if you start off as a male, and then as you age, you become a female, okay? And they live in these long colonies, these long chains, and they start off reproducing asexually, and then they switch and produce offspring sexually. And this is a recurring theme within nature. Bedbugs, little fuckers, they actually have sex, they reproduce sexually, and what they tend to do is this thing called here, I love this phrase, traumatic insemination. Most of you are thinking, most of the lads in here are going, yeah, I've done that. You really haven't. What basically happens is you pierce the woman's abdomen, you pierce it pierces the abdomen of the female and inserts sperm into it. And where it's quite interesting is, as a tactic, males are just basically attracted to anything that's big. I've got a friend like that, and sometimes they insert they impregnate for other males, and you think, well, that's obviously a waste of time and effort. But what can happen sometimes is the sperm is transferred into that male, and as a vehicle, he inseminates the female and takes that sperm from the rival male into the female. So it's quite an interesting mating strategy. Clownfish, you've seen Nemo. Okay, you may be aware of Nemo. His wife sadly died, and then he raised his. Who was Nemo? I don't know. Did he Nemo? And there's two fish, isn't there?
Son's Nemo.
The son's Nemo, thank you. Okay, the other fucker is looking for Nemo, right? That's basically what should actually happen is you normally have a community of fish, and the vast majority of them are females, and the top dominant fish is a male. Okay. Now, when the male dies, the top one is female, and the rest of them are male. If the top female dies, then one of the males replaces that female, okay, and switches genders, and then starts to copulate. Okay, so effectively, what would have happened if it was, scientifically accurate? His lover would have died, and then he would have turned into a female and then fucked his son. So it's pretty much. I've written a letter to Disney, no fucking response. I've actually done. I looked into testicular size because I'm perhaps going to share a little bit too much. I've got massive testicles. I've always wondered why. And actually, if you look at range of testicles, there's a thing in the news recently about guys with big nuts are really bad fathers, and I thought, oh, I'm going to be a bad dad. It really got to me. But anyway, I've looked into testicular size, and basically, if you look at primates, those with large testicles, I thought, were more likely to be adulterous because you need more sperms, you can bring more women, you know, get yourself about. But if you actually look at it, it's because primates with large testicles actually have to compete with other males. There's spermal competitions. The more sperm you can get inside your lady, the more chances one of them is going to beat the sperm from a rival male and get in there. So actually testicular size is correlated to adultery in females. So you start to ask the question, where do we lie on this graph, this graph where, you know, in terms of, basically, you know, is my girlfriend or wife cheating on me, you know, from a biological perspective, what are the odds? And if you map it out, we're somewhere in the middle. So gorillas, for example, female gorillas don't tend to be promiscuous, so they're, you know, a male gorilla, big guy, tiny nuts. If you look at chimpanzees, massive testicles, because the females generally copulate with lots of different males, so they need lots of sperm to kind of seal the deal. Okay, it's quite interesting. It's about that. So, myths. Yeah, so myths, right. I'll talk about dolphins because it's quite. I've heard that the rape goes on and dolphins get female. The male dolphins have gang rapes and they take the female and they suffocate them and they won't let them up until they have their way with them. And I was like, that's quite interesting. I'll put that up. And I looked into it. It actually doesn't happen. It's a myth. Like people will talk about dolphin rape. It's quite. This sexual coercion is very common. So you have close group friendships within dolphins, between males particularly. And what they tend to do is when a female comes in heat, the group of male dolphins will then escort her away from the rest of the group, and they'll guard her from rival males. Okay, and they'll within their own little group, one of them will be dominant, and or sometimes they take it in turns. They'll basically eventually one of them will have sex with them, and this is a type of courtship or herding. Okay, courtship, consortship actually, but spell check said to put courtship, and I don't like to disagree with it's consortship actually, but it's not actually dolphin rape, and there have been things reported in the rape about, reported in the news about people people going swimming and being like kidnapped by dolphins, taken to a rape cave, bombed by dolphins, right? It doesn't fucking happen, right? They do like to get their penises out and mount you, right? That is common. But whether or not that is about sex or dominance, it's undecided. Because, like, you know, female hyenas will sometimes, they have inflated clitorises. And they get their clitorises out because they have high levels of testosterone. You know, a clitoris is just basically a malformed penis, right? You all know that? No? Like, when you're yeah, 1 minute, great. When you're like, your gender is undetermined in the womb, and until sex hormones. That's why we've got nipples, boys, as well. So, like, basically, you have an androgynous embryo, and then it doesn't change to either be a male or a female until the sex hormones come in. So basically, so that's why clitorises are malformed penises. Okay, that's what girls have. So basically, it can be a sign of waffling. It can be a sign of dominance, where basically getting the penis out can be about dominance rather than sex. So it's not always about sex, and certainly I don't think dolphins really want to rape you. I just think they're having a little bit of fun. I mean, they haven't got their penis out and jumped on time. I think is that okay to do that there? Yeah.
Questions for Robert, they can approach him later on. Yeah, with caution. My favourite thing about that whole talk was this, which was like, sperm ink.
That's how I do it.
Our last speaker is so clearly